Hi y'all, this is Larry at Deep South Texas. It's the middle of June and it's time for another garden update. So here is the okra, planted about 25 days ago, I think. It's most of them are over a foot tall now. They're looking good. The burgundy okra seems to be doing a little bit better than the crimson spineless, but they're both looking really good. No flowers yet though. Only about half of the peanuts have come up. There's about a dozen plants here. The ones that came up are growing real well. They look healthy. We'll be watching these for the next several months. The sweet potatoes are really doing well now. They're starting to vine out, and a couple plants that have 2-foot long and even a 3-foot long vine at this point. I kept them shaded in the late afternoon for about a week after I planted the slips. But since then, they're in full sun and they're not wilting at all anymore. I actually have 2 beds of these now. This is the first bed I planted. And here is the second bed of sweet potatoes. They're doing great. These were planted a week to 10 days after the others, but they look good. I will continue to plant slips for the next 2 or 3 weeks. There's still plenty of time for them to mature. I pulled out most of the tomatoes at this point. This cherry tomato is still here. There's still fruit ripening up on this one, but the rest of the tomatoes are now gone, waiting for next year. So I harvested my moringa leaves last week, but as you can see, they're already starting to grow back new leaves, and I think, they'll be a little bit bushier than they were when I cut them down. So I'll do this probably 3 times this year and collect those leaves. Here is a moringa plant that I planted a cutting from. This is a cutting I took late December of 2017. It didn't do much for a long time, but in the last a couple weeks it's really started to take off. Here are 2 more moringa cuttings that I planted after I harvested my moringa last week. They're haven't shown any signs of new leaves yet, but I'm sure they're going to be fine. It's going to take a while though. The jalapeno peppers are looking great. They're getting really tall now. I harvested about a dozen peppers from them yesterday, so they're a little bit bare of fruit right now, but they're looking good. The turmeric continues to grow well. And the ginger is also looking good. The leeks are continuing to grow well. I think I'm going to put a little fertilizer on these this week. And the celery is still growing as well, although starting to see some of the very tips starting to look like they're getting burned a little bit from the sun and the heat. But we're still harvesting celery as we need it. Real happy with this. The dill never did recover from the 3 caterpillar attacks we had this year. I have to do something different next year. I think make 2 plots of dill and pick all the caterpillars off one and put them on the other. So I end up with some dill next year. I think I'm going to try a late planting of sweet corn in this bed where I grew the onions this year. I've never tried planting it this late, but there's a chance. There's still plenty of time, so if it's not too hot or too windy for it, it might turn out okay. We'll give it a try. Well, let's see if we can get an update on those teenage chickens again this week. They're still a little bit smaller than the other ones, but in another couple of weeks it might be hard to tell them apart. So this time of year, my garden is usually done with after I take the tomatoes out. But you know, this year we're extending the gardening season a little bit with the okra and the peanuts and the sweet potatoes. I've also got a few eggplant I want to plant. We won't plan on harvesting any eggplants this year, but they'll overwinter and they'll be ready to go as soon as spring shoots out next year. Anyway, hope you liked this video. If you did, please hit that thumbs up, and appreciate it if you'd subscribe. See you next time.